Ladies and gentlemen, everything we've been talking about on the channel, everything I've been trying to warn the public about is now happening right before our eyes. Major banks around the world are not just limiting cash withdrawals, they're banning cash withdrawals altogether. But people, that's not all. If you thought that was bad, they're now doing something even worse. If you're a conservative or if you have conservative values and you have the wrong political opinion and your bank tends to be a lot more left-leaning, well, they're now closing conservatives' accounts. This is no longer some crazy conspiracy theory. I've got the news, the facts, and the data to show you it is happening right now. So everyone, without further ado, let's get into it. Look at this, everyone. It is happening. Australians are warned to make bookings if they want to make cash withdrawals as banks go digital. Oh boy, everyone. Again, this is something I've tried to warn about on the channel that this will be happening, but guess what? It's not just happening in Australia, it's happening in the UK, Canada, and the US as well. It's coming to a town near you. But let's go a bit deeper into this report on what's exactly happening. So listen to this. ANZ and NAB have announced they no longer permitting cash withdrawals over the counter at some of their outlets as more banking is done online than with cash. Now, how could this possibly go wrong, everyone? Oh yeah, that's right. We're seeing massive outages with this online banking apps. We saw recently what happened in Australia. The biggest bank, Commonwealth Bank, had a massive outage, and this is why they can't ban cash altogether. Also, when there was huge bushfires in Australia, there was lots of people that tried to flee, get out of these dangerous areas that were going to be burning, and they went to go to the petrol station to fuel up petrol in their car to get out of there, and guess what? The payment services were offline. This is why it's so dangerous to go full digital. The move comes after a Queensland woman was unable to withdraw cash from her local branch and ended up closing her account in a now viral TikTok clip, and we'll go over that in a moment. A Canstar Group executive of financial services said holding large amounts of cash in a branch posed security risk as more banks went digital. While everyone, I think this is just a big excuse for the banks. It's more about boosting their profits and also having more financial control over you on how and where and when you spend your money. We've had banks hold cash for hundreds of years. I think they'll be fine going ahead. So okay, now let's analyze this clip of this woman that was unable to withdraw her money.
So I am getting some renos done at home and I needed $3,500 cash. So I went to the bank, but I didn't have my physical card. I thought, oh, that's fine. I'll just go to the teller. The teller proceeds to tell me they don't have cash in the bank anymore. You can only get it out through the ATM. But she said, don't worry, I'll set your card up so you can just tap it in place of your card. I said, oh, okay, great.
So that's right, everyone. At these banks, you can no longer just go to the teller and say, look, I haven't got my card on me. I need to withdraw some of my money. That's right. It's your money. They're saying, no, you can't do that anymore.
Anyway, she'd done her bit on the computer and she came with me to the teller to make sure everything was fine. And it just kept giving an error message. It wouldn't even let me get to the point to put my PIN in. When I tapped it, it just gave this error message. And she said, I'm really sorry, there's nothing we can do. I was like, what do you mean? I need to get my money out of my bank account? And she was like, yeah, really sorry, like we don't carry cash here.
Again, people, this is the massive risk that nobody's talking about. What happens if they go full digital, they ban cash altogether, and like what happened with this lady, she tries to go ahead and withdraw some of her money, but the system malfunctions. But guess what, everyone? That's going to be the least of your worries. We'll go into in a moment how they're now closing people's bank accounts that have the wrong political opinion.
She said if you've got another bank you can transfer your money to, you can try it with them. Luckily for me, I am with another bank, so I transferred every single penny out of that account, closed the account while I was there, and went and got my money out at another bank. But it just got me thinking about our banking system and where we're at, and how the hell can you go to a bank and not access your own money?
Well, everyone, we've done it. We've reached critical mass. The soccer mums have now woken up. Even they know how bad our banking system really is. And that shows you how far we've come from these so-called conspiracy theories. So ANZ first announced back in March that some of its outlets in Victoria would no longer dispense cash. The bank did not disclose which branches would be affected and insists it's only a small number that would be involved. I don't know about you, everyone, but that sounds very dodgy to me. They're implementing it into some branches, but they don't want to tell you who it is because they know it will cause panic and people will go to those branches and try to get out their money. And this is what they do time and time again. Don't worry, everyone, we're only doing this in a few branches. We're only going to close 1 or 2 branches. Well, no, everyone, we'll go into in a moment how they're closing huge amounts of branches and ATMs. Kind of like, don't worry, everyone, it's just 2 weeks to flatten the curve. Before you know it, like what happened here in Victoria, you're locked down for 2 years. However, critics warned the move to cashless banks could cause significant harm to older people and those with with disabilities who still rely on branches and physical cash. That's exactly right, everyone. I have a lot of older viewers on my channel as well. A lot of people over 65. They will still want to go to the bank and hold physical cash. They may not like or may not even know how to use these banking apps, and that's why we still need these systems, because there still is huge amounts of demand from a lot of people. Listen to this, everyone. The number of bank branches in Australia has fallen by 30% in only 5 years. That's absolutely insane, everyone. 30% of branches have been closed in just 5 years. Do you know what's going to end up happening? There may only be one bank branch for a whole major city. But that's not all. ATMs have decreased even more, with figures showing that they have fallen from a high of 14,000 in 2017 to just around 6,000 as of last year. The Reserve Bank estimated just 13% of transactions in late 2022 were in cash, a halving in just 3 years since the start of the COVID pandemic. So we're starting to see how their different agendas are going hand in hand. During the pandemic, a lot of cash transactions stopped because a lot of businesses said we no longer accept cash. It's not because people don't want to use it, it's because a lot of places don't accept it anymore. But guess what, people? That's just a start. Look what banks are doing right now to some people that have conservative views or are not going along with the agenda that's being pushed down people's throats right now. And if you post something online that may be offensive to some people, well, you may get an alert that your bank account has been closed. Because look at this, everyone. Banks have been warned after they closed Nigel Farage's bank account. So the Culture Secretary has said she is concerned banks may be closing customers' accounts for political reasons following claims from Brexiteer Nigel Farage. This is a very, very slippery slope, everyone, because what do I do on YouTube? I like to call out the bank's corruption. I like to call out these politicians' corruption. I like to speak out against the agendas that these banks are pushing down our throats. And so I'm very, very worried that soon I may have my bank accounts frozen. Lucy Fraser said it is something banks should be thinking about carefully. Last week, Mr. Murad said his bank was closing his accounts, claiming it was serious political persecution from an anti-Brexit banking industry. Now you may think, well, who cares? He's a politician. It doesn't affect me. While the Free Speech Union had their accounts closed with PayPal as well. So last year, PayPal closed accounts run by Toby Young, who was the General Secretary of the Free Speech Union, and they were later reinstated by the US payment company only after huge backlash. So that's absolutely crazy, everyone. They close the accounts for the Free Speech Union. That tells you what their real agenda is. They want to shut down free speech and free thought altogether. The government subsequently announced a review into payment services regulations, including the practice of firms apparently closing down accounts of people or businesses that hold views the lender does not agree with. Because we have had reports that some of these woke employees at these companies, they might have sort of tweet from one of their customers that really offended them, and so they get triggered and then go ahead and freeze their account. But of course, these big banks come out and say, look, this is not political, it's just a commercial decision. Mr. Farage said he was told by his bank that closing his accounts was a commercial decision. UK Finance, which represents the banking industry, said lenders should discuss the closure of an account with a customer so far as if feasible and permissible. It said there will be situations where it may not be appropriate or permissible for a bank to engage in dialogue to explain their reasoning. So that's exactly right, Ron. These banks can just close your bank account and say, look, it's a commercial decision, and give no further explanation. This would include a breach of terms and conditions, abusive or threatening behavior to colleagues, or if the banks have been directed not to by regulators, HG government, police, and other authorities. Mr. Farage said he approached 7 other banks to open personal and business accounts, but was turned down by all of them. Do you know what this is really going to lead to, everyone? That's right, social credit scores. Where you say the wrong things, you'll get a bad social credit score, and all the banks won't want to do business with you. But you know what's even worse? In the past, you were allowed to hold huge amounts of cash. But in today's society, if you walk around with $50,000 in cash, well, the police are going to deem you a criminal and confiscate that money. So unlike what people could do in the past where, okay, if your bank closes your bank account, you could hold your money in cash and go about your day-to-day life, you cannot do that anymore. It is now mandatory to hold these bank accounts, and if you get debanked, well, you're completely screwed. However, he claimed there were other reasons why his existing bank acted, either for reasons of being active in politics or having opinions that modern-day corporate banks don't agree with. Far too many accounts have been closed in recent years, he told the BBC. Speaking in the House of Commons on Monday, Security Minister said, this sort of closure on political grounds, if that is indeed what has happened, and after all, we only have the allegation of it at this point, should be completely unacceptable. PEPS, which stands for politically exposed person, is there to prevent the corrupt use of banking facilities by politicians in corrupt regimes. But it is not there to silence individuals who may hold views in which we may or may not agree with. And of course, the Treasury declined to comment. So everyone, the Great Reset, like we've all been warning about, it is happening right before our eyes. By 2030, I expect they're going to go into a full cashless society. We will have social credit scores. If you say anything wrong on social media or have the wrong political opinion, your bank account will be closed. That is, unless we act now. Tell our politicians, no, we don't want this. Vote with our money, boycott the banks that are doing this, and put your money in banks that are still allowing this to go forward. Now, if you're wanting to learn how to protect your wealth and build it during these very uncertain times, and also wanting to know how to master the cycles of gold, silver, and Bitcoin, my course is 50% off right now. You can click the link in the description. Once the course is finished, the price will be doubling. But everyone, what do you think about these crazy stories? Let me know down below. Now, for all my loyal viewers and subscribers still watching, you're awesome. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all in the next video.